All right, looks like had some technical difficulties here. So at the start of 8 o'clock, looks like didn't go through. Stream wasn't actually on. Yeah, so I actually did the whole stream, but it wasn't actually streaming. All right, but I'll go through some of the details that I went through. So it was really cool. Just yesterday, I received an email from somebody talking about he wants to buy an oud for his grandson, and so he asked me where he can get a cheaper oud, so that just in case the grandson doesn't want to get into it, he didn't spend a lot of money on an oud for the guy. So I thought, well, I have a lot of experience with this, playing tons of instruments when I was a teenager, and playing santur, playing electric guitar, playing trombone in high school band. So I have a lot of experience dabbling from one instrument to another. So I thought I'd respond to him, let him know you can get a decent oud here and here and whatnot. But I asked him another way to go about introducing your grandson to Middle Eastern music is to find out what he's already interested in. He mentioned that he was exposed to percussion in middle school. Okay, so has he expressed any interest in the oud particularly? You mentioned that he was exposed to percussion. Maybe a percussion instrument like dumbek, darbeke, or darbuka would be better suited to his personality, or rik even. I told him, like, think about it. Like, oud is not for everybody, and it takes a lot of seriousness to get started. You need to be very motivated. Since I started Oud for Guitarists in 2013, I've talked to hundreds of people that are starting to learn the oud. And 90% of them hear the oud for the first time and fall completely head over heels in love with it. It's kind of a thing, love at first sight. It kind of captivates them. That's the exact same thing that happened for me. When I was a teenager, I was playing santur, I was playing trombone, electric guitar. I even tried violin for some time. I couldn't stick to one instrument. I just wanted to learn them all. But as soon as I heard the oud, that was it. It started to dominate my musical life up until this moment. And so today I wanted to discuss some of the struggles that I had learning the oud, because I first picked up the oud. I got a really crappy oud from Iran that my friend's mom picked up for me. It was really nice of her to do that, and it was in pretty rough shape, but it was the first oud I had. I didn't really know what to do with it at that point. I didn't have an oud teacher in town at the time, and so it took many years for me to finally actually start learning the oud seriously. I tuned it up to whatever tuning I thought would work on it. I didn't. It was just a really rough oud. The tuning pegs were awful. They were like coated in a really thick varnish that you just couldn't like, they would just get stuck completely in the pegs, and it was brutal. It was a hard instrument to start on. People these days who want to get into the oud, there's way better options, and now thankfully with the internet you can order an oud safely online, more or less, and have a good experience, at least better than what I had. And then it wasn't until like 2003 I started to take lessons, but I actually had to quit lessons and then get back into it later on. That's another story. But anyway, I started studying the oud really very seriously in 2005 with Hossein Behruzania, a Persian oud player. He plays actually Persian style barbat, which is a little bit structurally a little bit different sound than Arabic ouds. And so some of the things that I had trouble with the oud was my hand just didn't look like my teacher's hand. It was really hard to kind of do what he was doing. He kind of had a technique that was he came from tar playing, Persian music is dominated by setar and tar, which are long-necked lutes, and they have frets, so it's a different fingering system. And he was originally a tar player back in his university days, and he was going to focus on tar, but he decided to change his first instrument to oud. Back in those days, nobody was really learning the oud in Iran as a serious study. It wasn't taken seriously, and there's some reasons for that, but that's a whole different topic of discussion. So anyway, he decided to bring the oud back into Persian music, which he has done successfully in the last 25 years. The oud has completely come back to Iran, and young musicians are embracing it. So anyway, I started lessons with him seriously in 2003, 2005. Had to quit for some time. And like the way he held the oud, I just couldn't get my fingers to kind of do it that way that he was doing it. So then I started to get exposed to YouTube and oud players online, and I noticed that the Arab players would play a little bit differently. So that kind of piqued my interest. I had to really kind of learn for myself, get exposed to different oud styles, and choose for myself how to play. The specific Persian way that I learned is very specific to Persian daska and Persian scales. So he explained to me that like the hand position is used for different maqams that Arab players use, but it's not really used in Persian music, so we use a different hand position. So those were kind of things that I struggled with, didn't really know. I kind of wanted to learn more, but his style wasn't really working for me. Also, another thing that he did was he held the risha through the third and fourth finger like this. So what happens is it really bends the risha. You need a more flexible mezrab to use. You need a flexible plastic one. He liked plastic, but I noticed other players were holding it like this, right? And so I started experimenting, and I noticed that there were a few different effects. Like when you are forced to play it like this, it's nice because you have a bit more control. You can change how much is sticking out very easily, but you can do it here too. But anyway, you use more narrow risha. You can't use a thicker, wider risha like the pyramid ones. This is really awkward, and it kind of is uncomfortable, especially if you're using a very thick one, a very like 1 millimeter to 2 millimeter thickness. So I noticed you could get some different tone out of it if you play like this. I eventually decided to stick with this way, and because I liked the sound that I was getting out of it. So there are those kind of things that I relearned. The first time that I was exposed to different styles of oud playing was my oud teacher had come back from a festival, an oud festival, which he was participating at, and he brought back one of Yurdal Tokcan's CDs, his solo CD, and he let me borrow it to listen to it, and I was completely blown away. That was the first time I had heard a different kind of oud style that was a bit different than what I was learning. And so at that point I was like, I really want to study different types of oud playing and get out there and see what kind of things there are available. So I started going on YouTube, and I started to look up like Arab style oud players, like Farid al-Atrash, very famous oud player, but I really didn't like the style. Like I thought that it was very messy and very rustic and very like the modulations, they would go all over the place. Very different vibe than Persian style improvisation. And so it wasn't really my cup of tea in the beginning. It wasn't until about 2006, 2007 that Simon Shaheen came to Vancouver and put on a concert. And like at that point there weren't that many Arabs in Vancouver, so the audience, like there was no turnout at the concert. It was very sparse. But it was an amazing concert. Completely blew my mind. I didn't know you could do that on the oud until that point. So that really changed everything for me in terms of what you can do on the instrument, what are the possibilities. I started to see that there was a systematic rigor of study and implementation in the music, rather than a very rustic, very It wasn't messy anymore. I knew that there was a system behind what this guy was doing, and the power of the sound and his technique that he got out of the oud. I knew that there was something to be investigated there. So I started to learn more Arabic repertoire slowly, learn tunes like Langa Farafaza and these popular tunes that people hear and know. Um, then started to slowly get into it and explore more about different types of Arabic music, copy what I was seeing on YouTube, and so I had to relearn stuff like where the quarter tones are, because hearing the Arabic music and the Arabic maqam system, the quarter tones are a little bit different depending on the maqam, depending on the style and the region that the player is from, and so I really realized you really have to listen quite a lot. And it goes back to my point about you have to really be in love with the instrument, because uh, even as an advanced player, you're still listening so deeply, because if you're playing with a musician from another tradition or whatnot, you really have to learn those quarter tones and you really have to absorb them and really have to play it. It's so subtle, the differences, that it takes a lot of concentration, a lot of focus to really learn and master the oud well. But it's definitely doable and definitely possible. So those are some of the things that I had problems with. There was one more point. Even after, that brings me up to about 2013. I was focusing on the oud. After 2008, I decided I've got to focus on the oud. I was playing santur up to that point along with the oud, and I realized I really want to focus on the oud and really go deeply into it. So it brings us up to 2013. 2013 is when I developed the Oud Foundation program and put that out there for guitar players, or anyone who wants to learn the oud coming from a background of music, to actually get into the oud and learn it properly. There's so many bad habits that you can learn, right? So I wanted that to be available for people to have a nice solid oud crash course, so that they can start and then go on their own way and learn independently from there. So ever since that time, I'd wanted to add more videos, add more content to the Oud Foundation program, and so I was able to do that this year. And so I've added a whole bunch of other things to the Oud method that I had created back then. One thing that I had to relearn, which really opened up my oud technique. I learned it after I produced the first Oud Foundation program, and that was alternating strokes when you move from one string to another. When in the style that I learned, you play a downstroke when you play a descending passage when you change strings. For example, I'll try to show you here. So if you can see my mezrab here, when you play a scale, let's say G, F, E, D, you can play all downstrokes, right? If you want to play really quick, you can play down, up, down, up. Now, I didn't know this was possible before that. So later on, I learned this technique of alternating the whole way. So you can play all kinds of scales, just alternating. And so that really helps you play really fast passages on the oud without playing them playing downstrokes when you're changing strings. It takes some speed and agility, and so you can play a whole lot of different technique if you develop the alternating strokes. So that's something that I've added to the foundation program now, an exercise specifically for that, to learn how to play alternating. It's important to learn both styles. I want people to have a very well-rounded exposure to oud music, to know how Arabs play, how Turks play, and how Persian style is. So there's a new repertoire in the Oud Foundation program. You learn traditional tunes, traditional Persian tunes. There's some Turkish repertoire too, and a whole lot of new exercises to really take you from zero to something like more advanced beginner to early intermediate oud playing. So now I've added a whole bunch of new content into the foundation program. that draws on my experiences in the last 7 years of talking to oud players, what they want to learn, and also to address some of the issues that I had learning the oud, different styles and different ways of fingering the notes and different techniques, risha techniques as well. And so the foundation program is now 4 sections: foundation 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so it's kind of being readjusted now. And this weekend you can get all 4 of these programs for a lower price, because we haven't released foundation 3 and 4 yet. There's still, the videos are being edited and whatnot, and we'll release them shortly. But yeah, you can get them for a lower price. The link is in the description. Let's see, there was another point I wanted to make about challenges. So yeah, so a few challenges I had was learning how to really get comfortable with the oud, especially the left hand. I couldn't follow my teacher that well. I had to kind of figure out. I kind of wish that he told me that, these challenges will pass on its own. You don't have to worry about it. They just kind of disappeared after a while. Second challenge was relearning how to hold the risha, deciding which way I want to do it, and then relearning the quarter tones, being exposed to Turkish music and Arabic music. You gotta adjust for that, and you really have to listen deeply. And then learning risha technique with the alternating strokes, very powerful technique. So yeah, I spent a lot of time listening to Arabic music, listening to Turkish music, and trying to copy and emulate. So one of those things that I wanted to address in the Oud Foundation program is helping people have a more balanced approach to the oud and answer some of their questions. And it's nice to have me available. I can answer any questions you have about oud learning as you go. And yeah, so those are some of my struggles learning the oud. And now I'd like to answer any questions you have about the oud, learning the oud, or about the foundation program. If you've checked it out on the link I have in the description, happy to answer any questions you have. So yeah, I had started this stream at 8 a.m. here an hour ago, but it actually did not happen. I actually wasn't streaming. I thought I was streaming, but I wasn't. That can happen. So yeah, let's see here. So somebody is asking, isn't the alternating strokes originally a Turkish technique? The traditional Arab players don't use down-up technique, only downstroke technique. Is that correct? Yes, downstroke. Yeah. In the beginning, I think there are like some Arabs who also use just downstroke, and I think that's why it was in the technique that I was learning too, because the people who learned oud in Iran, oud had completely disappeared from Iran, and at one point, and so the people who had started to learn it probably learned it from teachers in Iraq. Iraq is and maybe the Gulf as well. Of course, in the southern Iranian region, I think they had held on to oud quite longer than the rest of Iran, but it wasn't a traditional Persian instrument, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, some places in the south they had held on to the oud too. So yeah, that technique really changed everything for me. Learning how to play alternating strokes, playing fast melodies, it really changed everything. So I really wanted that to be part of the program. Let's see, any other questions? I play the mandolin and wanted to approach the oud. Do you suggest a Turkish or Arab one? That's a really good question. It depends on your budget. It depends on if you have a high budget, I recommend that you find the oud that you like the sound, and also go towards an oud that is played by somebody that you really admire their oud playing. So, for example, if you're a big fan of Simon Shaheen, look for an Arabic oud. Go for an Arabic oud. If you really like Yurdal Tokcan, for example, you may want to get a Turkish oud. But if you have a lower budget, Then the most reliable places that I recommend getting an oud, Morris Oud Shop. I'll put the link in here. Morris Oud Shop for Egyptian ouds, and also Sultan Instruments, and what's the Salah Music. I've heard good reviews about their beginner ouds. So check those places out. Sultan Instruments and Salah Music. So these are good places to start. But if you want an Arabic sound, get an Arabic oud. If your budget is high, if you have some money to spend, then you can get a good sounding Turkish made oud that sounds good as an Arabic oud, like Yildirim Palabiyik. The oud that I have is made by Yildirim Palabiyik. And also, play guys like Farouk Turuns and stuff. So yeah, it doesn't really matter Arabic or Turkish. Depends on what style you want to play. You can tune a Turkish oud to Arabic tuning and learn that way. That's acceptable. So yeah, when playing, should I move just my wrist or the whole hand? Can you please demonstrate? Yeah, so the movement, let's see here. This is what's happening. I'm not moving anything here. Look at the small strokes, like I'm hardly moving at all. So that's kind of how it is. Let's see here. I can get it better. That's all that's moving. So yeah, I emphasize strong, efficient movements of your wrist and forearm. It's all here, Your forearm's locked to the instrument for the most part, and this movement is happening. Let's see some more questions. It's hard for me to see the strings while I'm playing. I find it hard to memorize, but I feel the distance going from one string to another when there are two or three strings apart. Yeah, that's a good question. So I've written exercises to address that, to do that kind of string hopping. So there's some practicing that you can do, like you can go from one string to another. It's hard to see. You can go like just take the D string here, and then hit the D string here, and play down, down, up, down, down, up pattern. Practice that. Do it the same with A, open A, and then do down, up, down, up, down, up. Do those kind of exercises, and that will help your hand feel, where it is. You want to get a feel for it. You want muscle memory to kick in. Do it very slowly, but also when you're practicing, don't be afraid to hit wrong notes. Just get the movement. Who cares if you're playing wrong notes? Keep doing it until you do it, and then play very slowly so that your hand can precisely get to the string that you want to do it. The best practice is to practice slow. That's how you get really fast, is by practicing very slow. I keep hearing that, and I learned that much later in my music learning. to practice slow, but practicing slow is very important. So another video, you mentioned singing the tune before you play. Though I don't have an oud yet, would it help to learn to sing the maqam scales? Absolutely, absolutely. Do that. And like, your voice is your primary instrument. You have to use your voice to get the music. When you're a teenager and you start to learn your catchy tunes, and you start to hum and sing in the shower, like, that's when you start to realize the connections, and that's where you can use that to really learn the quarter tones, the half flats, and all the microtones in between, is by singing it. All right. What's your thought about other players using the guitar pick instead of the risha? You can do it. I do it. I can use a guitar pick and play the oud, but it's not going to be that fun. It's not going to get the sound that you want. So I recommend using the risha, but like, when I hold a guitar pick, it looks like I'm holding a risha. It's just a different thing in my hand. You give me anything, I can get a sound out of the oud fine. After you get to a certain point, it just sounds a bit clunky when you use a guitar pick because of the leverage, I think, and the way that it attacks. So I recommend the risha. How do you feel about Zain al-Abidin instruments? I don't know much about any other of their instruments other than jumbush. I've had one of their jumbushes. Love jumbush. It's really a fun instrument to play. But I don't know about their other instruments. All right. Not related to oud, but what is a good price for a darbuka? Have no idea. I don't play darbuka. When you say enough money to spend, how much do you mean? How much does a good oud cost typically, and how will I know it's good quality? Those are good questions too. So I have a whole bunch of posts, the ultimate oud buyer's guide, where you can learn about that. Anywhere from $800 American dollars to $2,000 American dollars, you're getting a pretty good quality oud. But that's a huge range. That's a whole other topic. But it's good quality when the craftsmanship is good, and when the oud is put together. It's a reputable maker, like Yildirim Palabiek, Farouk Turuns, Nazir Gadban. These guys are putting together nice ouds. There's so many good oud makers out there. But that's a big topic. You could go on that for all day about oud makers and oud price and stuff like that. Can I talk a bit about intonation relating to maqamat and microtones? Intonation. Depending on the maqam, the intonation will be a little bit different for the quarter tone or the microtone. In Turkish theory, there's like, they differentiate between 9 divisions between one note to another. Like a whole tone, if you have one step like C to D, there's 9 divisions of intonation you can have in between there. So there are some really different subtleties and different approaches to it. The best thing is to use your ear and go back to singing the microtone. Focus on a simple melody that you hear and try to copy it with your voice. That's the very basic way that you can get it without having an oud, without having an instrument, without fumbling with all the learning right hand, left hand stuff first. Sing. That's where you get it. One thing is, very simply, when it comes to Arab maqamat and even Persian daska, there are only a few well-known, commonly used quarter tones. E quarter flat, B quarter flat, A quarter flat, D quarter flat. That covers most of the basics. And then there's F quarter sharp too, but that covers most of it. After you get a few of those, you can find the quarter tones anywhere else on the oud. So there are only a few that are most commonly used. Let's see, have some more time. I gotta get going soon. I completely had way more time than this, but because the stream didn't go through, gonna have to cut it short soon. Have you ever heard someone using ouds from Souk, Amazon? No, I haven't. That's interesting. I'll look into that. What recordings would you recommend to get an overview of Arabic music in general and a good overview of oud styles? Good question. I've got Arabic Music 101 email course. It's a free email course you can sign up for on oudforguitarist.com. That is some of the tunes that I, as an oud player, would recommend you listen to. So you can sign up for that oud course, and every day I'll send you different examples of music to listen to. I have to go through that and clean up some of the links. Some of the links are not working, but depending on the country you're in too, some of the links are not available. But you can at least get the artist and search up the artist's name that way. Is it a good idea to learn on a lower quality oud? Yeah, of course. I learned on the crappiest oud ever when I started learning. But you can only really learn on a lower quality oud for 6 months to a few years, depending on how bad of a shape it's in. So that, yeah, if you need to start somewhere, you can start somewhere. You can start on a low quality oud, but it's going to prevent you from getting further. So you gotta eventually get a better oud too. I live in Kurdistan, and I don't know any good oud makers. It's hard to know if a oud is good quality or not. It is hard, but the clearest indicator that an oud is good quality, or at least it's a safe one to buy, is the action. So let me change here. I'm gonna show you. So the distance from the string to the fingerboard, where it meets the edge, where it meets the body, you got to look at how high the strings are off the fingerboard. You don't want it to be more than 2.5, more than 3 millimeters high. If it's too high, you won't be able to play. The oud has already lost its shape. So you also want to look over the oud to see if the oud is in good shape. You know, if there's any warping happening. You know, if the string tension is too much for the oud to handle. Those are some of the things you can. You can also tap the fingerboard, the soundboard, to make sure the braces are intact. Don't tap hard, just a little bit. Listen for anything that sounds wrong. You know, like you should get a good echo when you tap. You should have good echo everywhere. That's one thing you can look for. But yeah, it's difficult. Without having experience, I know it can be very difficult. But definitely look at the action. Don't buy an oud with too high of an action. And if you're worried that the oud is low quality, make sure you have light gauge strings on it, so you don't have too much tension on the oud, so that it doesn't warp and change shape after some time. Right. I play almost all the maqams, but when it comes to taqsim and switching between them, it doesn't always sound smooth. Do you have any special program only about modulation rules? So yeah, I do. So I have the maqam mastery program. Let's see, I'll find the link for you. And I have a step-by-step taqsim program too, which goes through techniques of taqsim, creating your own taqsim, copying a taqsim. It really comes down to practice, experimentation, and stuff. But yeah, I do have that one there. I'll get you the link for it. And here. All right, here's the link to Maqam Mastery Program. And what's your take on reading music, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, that kind of stuff, in American style? I use both, so I can interchange between both. Middle Eastern players, they learn the solfege system. It doesn't make a difference, really, but for my programs, I use A, B, C, D all the way through in my programs, just because that's my audience is all people who are using those notes. But just learn both. Like it doesn't take that much time to learn both. Yeah, use whatever tools you have to figure it out. But I use both interchangeably. I'm a little bit more comfortable with solfege a little bit, but I guess microtones and things of that nature are very, very deep. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so if you are learning the oud, I definitely recommend you check out the Oud Foundation program at the link in the description. Check it out. It will take you from you can start it from having no musical background. It will take you from zero to being a advanced beginner to early intermediate. And yeah, so check that out. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. And if you have any questions, you can always email me at my email address, support@oudforguitarists.com. This weekend, until the end of the weekend, I am giving the new foundation program that I've revamped. I've revamped it completely. It's gonna two of the sections. It's now divided into 4 sections: Foundation 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can get all 4 foundation programs for $149, which the regular price will be $199. So you can get that all this weekend at the description. And yeah, check it out. I think it solves a lot of the problems that oud players have. So yeah, do check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. Good to see you again. Hope you have a great day.